African female narcos and drug syndicates across Africa. A hidden criminal world is expanding, not just ruled by violent cartel bosses or armed smugglers, but increasingly by women. Some are survivors pulled into crime by poverty. Others become recruiters, traffickers, money couriers, and cartel operators. From the ports of West Africa to meth labs in Southern Africa, to cocaine routes stretching from Latin America to Europe, African women are playing growing roles inside global drug syndicates. And behind every airport arrest, every seized shipment, and every prison sentence lies a deeper story of desperation, power, corruption, and survival. Welcome once again to the Illicit Index channel, as tonight we investigate the rise of African female narcos. Africa, the new global drug corridor. For decades, Africa was seen mainly as a transit point in the international drug trade. But today, the continent has become something much bigger. Africa has transitioned from a mere transit point to a primary processing and consumption hub. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime notes that weak border systems and corruption make the continent a key corridor for cocaine, heroin, and methamphetamine. West Africa became especially important because of weak border systems, corruption, underfunded law enforcement, and strategic Atlantic coastlines. Countries like Nigeria, Ghana, Guinea-Bissau, and Cape Verde became key routes for cocaine shipments traveling from Latin America into Europe. Meanwhile, heroin from Afghanistan and Southwest Asia moved through East and Southern Africa using routes passing through Kenya, Tanzania, and South Africa. Drug syndicates evolved quickly, and eventually, they realized women could become some of their most effective operatives. Why women became valuable to drug syndicates. In many African drug syndicates, women are often viewed as less suspicious than men. That single assumption changed everything. Female couriers began moving drugs through airports, border crossings, hotels, and shipping routes with less attention from authorities. Some became mules, swallowing capsules filled with cocaine or heroin. Others hid narcotics inside clothing, wigs, luggage, baby products, or food containers. But recruitment rarely begins with violence. It often starts with vulnerability. Research on female drug trafficking in Southern Africa found that poverty, unemployment, debt, abusive relationships, and the pressure to support children are among the biggest reasons women enter drug syndicates. Many are promised quick money, international travel, luxury lifestyles, or business opportunities. Some, however, know exactly what they are entering. Others discover too late that they are carrying drugs across international borders. The rise of female drug mules. Drug mule operations became one of the most common ways African syndicates moved narcotics internationally. Women were often selected because they attracted less suspicion at customs checkpoints. The methods became terrifyingly dangerous. Some swallowed dozens of cocaine capsules before boarding international flights. If even one capsule burst inside the body, death could come within minutes. South African studies found that many female couriers came from financially desperate backgrounds and were recruited by criminal networks, promising fast cash. Others were emotionally manipulated by boyfriends or criminal partners. Some women made only a few $100s per trip, while syndicate leaders earned millions. The women carried the greatest risk. The bosses stayed invisible. Recent convictions have exposed the intricate hierarchy of female-led syndicates, ranging from street-level mules to high-society kingpins. The elite socialite. In Lagos society circles was a known and respected influential woman. At 61 years old, she carried status, wealth, and influence. She was the Iolaje of her group, a well-known group of elite women in Lagos social circles. To many people, she looked like the perfect success story. She imported fabrics and shoes from China. She called herself a celebrity farmer. She attended glamorous events and moved comfortably among politicians, business owners, and socialites. Just 1 month before her arrest, she reportedly hosted a lavish birthday celebration filled with luxury and high-profile guests. But according to investigators, there was another side to her life, a hidden side. Inside the criminal underworld, authorities say she was known by another name, and for years, anti-drug operatives believed she was connected to a major cannabis trafficking network, operating from the Mushin area of Lagos. Then, on New Year's Day in 2025, the operation finally began to fall apart. NDLEA officers intercepted a white Isuzu truck carrying 44 jumbo sacks packed with imported cannabis, commonly called Canadian Loud or Colorado. The truck was being driven by one of her staff members, a 41-year-old man. When investigators questioned him, the trail reportedly led straight to her hideout in Okota, Lagos. Officers moved quickly and arrested her at a property on Adebayo Oyewole Street, off Ago Palace Way. For years, she had allegedly remained out of reach while living openly as a wealthy businesswoman. Now, she sits in custody, while authorities move to seize mansions, businesses, and other assets they believe are connected to the drug operation. The case shocked many Nigerians, because it showed how easily organized crime can hide behind wealth, influence, and public respectability. Sometimes, the people least suspected are the ones operating closest to the center of the network. The cartel couple and the woman who hid the drugs. In May 2024, anti-narcotics officers intercepted a couple traveling along the Lagos-Badagry Expressway toward the Ghana border. At first glance, they looked like ordinary travelers crossing into another West African country. But during a search, officers reportedly discovered 42 blocks of cocaine, weighing nearly 48 kilograms. That discovery immediately triggered a larger investigation. Soon after, authorities raided the couple's residence in Agbara, Ogun State, where another 10 kilograms of cocaine was allegedly recovered. Altogether, investigators linked the couple to more than 57 kilograms of cocaine. But the operation did not end there. Authorities believed someone else inside the network was still hiding. For nearly 2 years, a woman reportedly stayed underground, avoiding arrest, while investigators tracked her movements through intelligence and surveillance. Then, in December 2025, officers finally raided her residence in Surulere, Lagos. What they found stunned even experienced investigators. Inside a black suitcase hidden in her children's bedroom was over 23 kilograms of cocaine worth billions of naira on the street. The discovery painted a disturbing picture of how drug syndicates sometimes operate. Safe houses, hidden stash locations, trusted insiders keeping drugs away from the main traffickers. Authorities say her arrest helped dismantle that specific cross-border trafficking network completely. But like many narcotics cases, investigators still believe there were bigger figures behind the scenes who never appeared publicly. The Cocaine Queen. For years, investigators believed a woman operated quietly inside Nigeria's cocaine trade. And in April 2026, a federal high court in Lagos sentenced her to 45 years in prison for conspiracy, possession, and exportation of cocaine. Although the sentences would run at the same time, meaning she would serve 15 years, the judgment marked the end of a case that had started almost a decade earlier. The story began in February 2017 at Murtala Muhammad International Airport in Lagos. A woman, Lara, was arrested while allegedly attempting to smuggle cocaine hidden inside clothing and bags onto a flight bound for Saudi Arabia. But according to investigators, what happened next gave more insight into the entire case. As officers arrested her, she reportedly cried out in Yoruba, "She has killed me," mentioning the name of the cocaine queen. That emotional outburst led investigators to the alleged cocaine queen. Prosecutors later argued that the queen personally supplied the cocaine and even drove the suspect to the airport herself. In court, she defended herself by claiming she was simply an illiterate businesswoman with no involvement in drug trafficking. But the court ruled that the evidence against her was overwhelming. The suspect pleaded guilty and received a lengthy prison sentence. The cocaine queen was eventually convicted as well. The case exposed another painful reality inside narcotics trafficking networks. Sometimes the people doing the carrying are not acting alone. Behind many couriers are organizers, suppliers, and coordinators quietly directing operations from a distance. Beyond Nigeria, beyond the borders of Nigeria, similar stories continue to emerge across Africa. From Kenya to South Africa, from Morocco to Tanzania, women are increasingly appearing inside drug trafficking investigations. Some are desperate couriers trying to survive. Some become stash keepers and recruiters. And a few rise high enough to become powerful figures in organized crime itself. But in almost every case, one thing remains the same. The women who are caught are often only one small part of a much larger criminal network operating in the shadows. East Africa, Kenya. The JKIA cocaine mule. In November 2025, a 34-year-old woman named Muli A landed at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi after arriving from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. To most people at the airport, she looked like an ordinary traveler, quiet, calm, unremarkable, but anti-narcotics detectives had already received intelligence about her movements. The moment she stepped off the plane, officers moved in. At first, nothing unusual was visible. No suspicious luggage, no hidden compartments, but investigators suspected she was carrying drugs inside her body. Under observation, she eventually expelled 28 pellets of cocaine, 14 first, then another 14 later. Altogether, the cocaine weighed nearly 1 kilogram and had a street value of over 3.6 million Kenyan shillings. The case revealed something authorities across Africa already feared. Women were still being heavily used as low-level drug couriers in international trafficking operations. They take the biggest risks, they face the arrests, and if anything goes wrong, the syndicates simply replace them. The Muranga warehouse operator. A few months earlier, in Muranga County, residents began noticing strange activity around a woman's property. People came and left at unusual hours. Deliveries seemed suspicious. The neighborhood became uneasy. Eventually, someone alerted the police. When detectives raided the property belonging to Eunice W., they discovered something shocking. 13 large gunny bags filled with cannabis, more than 225 kilograms in total. Authorities believed the house was not just a storage point, but part of a wider distribution network. Unlike airport mules who move drugs from one country to another, women like Eunice often play another role inside drug syndicates. Safekeepers. They hide the products, store them, and help move them quietly through local networks. What made the case more interesting was that it was ordinary citizens who exposed the operation. Communities across Africa are becoming more aware of how deeply narcotics are spreading into local neighborhoods. The Tanzanian cross-border trafficker. In January 2024, authorities at Moi International Airport in Mombasa arrested a middle-aged Tanzanian woman carrying more than 5 kilograms of heroin, hidden inside a black bag. The drugs were worth millions of shillings. Investigators later revealed that she had not acted alone. During the trial, prosecutors presented 16 witnesses. The evidence was overwhelming. The court eventually sentenced her to 45 years in prison, one of the harshest sentences handed to a female drug trafficker in East Africa. But even during sentencing, one detail stood out. The court acknowledged that she had acted with others not before the court. And once again, the bigger figures behind the operation remained invisible. That is one of the biggest patterns in Africa's drug trade. The couriers get arrested. The stash keepers get imprisoned. But the real bosses often disappear into the shadows. Southern Africa, South Africa. The outshorn methamphetamine case. In South Africa, one case revealed how social media is now being used to recruit women into drug trafficking. A woman named Vuyiseka connected online with a Nigerian man named Victor. According to prosecutors, she offered to transport what was described simply as stuff. Victor sent her travel money, and the two later met at a guest house in George. Soon after, they left together in a taxi heading toward Outshorn. But police had already received a tip-off. Officers stopped the taxi at a roadblock and searched the vehicle. Inside, they found a parcel containing methamphetamine, locally known in South Africa as tick. The drugs were worth hundreds of thousands of rand. In court, Vuyiseka claimed she did not know exactly what she was carrying, but prosecutors argued she was a willing participant. The judge agreed. She received 15 years in prison. Victor received 22 years. The case highlighted a growing trend. Some women are not forced into trafficking, but willingly enter the trade, hoping for fast money. And behind many of these operations are highly organized transnational syndicates operating across African borders. Zimbabwe's Ganja Queen. Not every female trafficker operates on a large scale. In Zimbabwe's town of Gwanda, detectives received information about a woman allegedly selling cannabis from a mining compound. When police arrived, she reportedly handed over the drugs without resistance. The amount was small compared to international cocaine or heroin seizures, just small sachets of cannabis meant for local buyers. But the story reflects another side of Africa's drug economy. At the bottom level are poor women trying to survive through small-scale street dealing. No luxury mansions, no international flights, no cartel millions, just poverty, risk, and desperation. North Africa, Morocco. The Bab Sebta cocaine smuggler. In July 2025, security officials at the Bab Sebta border crossing between Morocco and the Spanish enclave of Ceuta stopped a 44-year-old woman traveling in a foreign registered vehicle. During inspection, officers discovered nearly 5 kilograms of cocaine hidden inside the vehicle. The Bab Sebta crossing is one of the busiest gateways between Africa and Europe. Drug traffickers have used it for years to move narcotics into European markets. And once again, investigators believe female couriers are often selected because they attract less suspicion. To border officers, she may have looked like an ordinary traveler. The Saleh synthetic drug case. In December 2024, Moroccan police arrested a 30-year-old woman and her male accomplice in the city of Saleh. Authorities recovered thousands of psychotropic and ecstasy tablets during the operation. The case reflected another growing problem in Africa's narcotics trade: synthetic drugs. Unlike cocaine or heroin, synthetic drugs can be produced in hidden labs with chemicals and pills. And experts fear the market is growing fast. Cases like this also reveal a common pattern investigators call the cartel couple structure: male and female partners working together inside drug distribution networks. The pattern that never changes. Across all these stories, one thing remains the same. The women are usually the visible faces of the operation. They are arrested at airports, caught with bags, stopped at borders, or found guarding hidden warehouses. But the real kingpins often remain untouched. The people financing the shipments, the international suppliers, the corrupt protectors, the invisible bosses behind the scenes rarely appear in court. And authorities across Africa continue fighting a battle where the lowest players are the easiest to catch, while the biggest players stay hidden in the dark. Methods: internal concealment, body packing. This is one of the most dangerous methods. The courier swallows multiple pellets or capsules filled with drugs such as cocaine or heroin before boarding a flight. The drugs are usually wrapped tightly in latex, plastic, or condoms to prevent leakage. Some couriers can carry dozens of pellets inside their stomach or intestines. Syndicates use this method because it is difficult to detect without scans. No suspicious luggage needed. It allows small but valuable shipments. Risks involved are enormous. If even one pellet bursts inside the body, it can cause overdose and death within minutes. This method has been used in many airport arrests across Africa, Europe, and Latin America. With concealment and luggage method, drugs are hidden inside. False suitcase compartments, shoe soles, handbag linings, cosmetic containers, food packages, baby products, clothing seams. Some traffickers professionally modify bags so the compartments are almost invisible. Female couriers are sometimes chosen because authorities may initially view them as less suspicious travelers. Drug-soaked clothing or fabric method. Clothes, wigs, towels, or fabrics are soaked in liquid cocaine or methamphetamine solutions. Once delivered, chemists extract the narcotics from the material. This method is harder to detect visually because the drugs are chemically infused into ordinary items. Concealment on the body. Drugs may be taped or strapped to the body under clothing. Some couriers use waist trainers, fake pregnancy bellies, padded bras, wigs, sanitary pad packaging. This method is common for shorter regional trips or border crossings. Vaginal or rectal concealment. Small drug packages are hidden internally inside body cavities. This method carries serious health risks, including infection, rupture, and overdose. Law enforcement agencies worldwide frequently encounter this technique in airport arrests. Use of children or family travel cover. Some syndicates instruct women to travel with children or family members to appear less suspicious. The drugs may be hidden in baby bags, toys, milk containers, strollers. Investigators say criminal groups exploit the perception that mothers traveling with children are less likely to attract attention. Cross-border vehicle concealment. For land borders, drugs may be hidden inside car panels, fuel tanks, tires, seats, engine compartments. Female drivers are sometimes used because syndicates believe border officers may inspect them less aggressively. The female kingpins. Not all women in the drug trade are victims. Some become powerful operators themselves: recruiters, financiers, transport coordinators, money launderers, and in rare cases, drug queens. One of Africa's most infamous examples emerged in South Africa. Cheryl Kwele, once a respected public figure and wife of a government minister, was convicted for recruiting women into international drug trafficking operations. Authorities said she targeted vulnerable women, promising them overseas jobs before allegedly involving them in cocaine smuggling schemes. Her conviction shocked the nation because it revealed something disturbing. Drug syndicates were no longer operating only in the shadows. They were penetrating elite circles. Across Africa, female cartel figures increasingly act as intermediaries between corrupt officials, foreign traffickers, street dealers, and international criminal networks. Some control safe houses. Others coordinate airport movements. Some manage money laundering operations through businesses, beauty shops, import companies, or real estate. These women have radically transformed West Africa's cocaine routes into one of the world's most important trafficking corridors. The United Nations estimates that massive amounts of cocaine passed through West Africa toward Europe during the peak years of trafficking. Latin American cartels partnered with African criminal organizations to create new smuggling pipelines. The Sahel region became especially important. Remote deserts, weak government control, armed groups, and political instability created ideal trafficking conditions. Women became critical players in this underground economy. In cities like Lagos, Accra, Dakar, and Abidjan, drug money quietly entered local economies. Luxury clubs expanded, high-end estates appeared, and organized crime became deeply intertwined with politics and corruption. The human cost. Behind the glamour and criminal wealth lies devastating human damage. Thousands of women across Africa are imprisoned for drug trafficking offenses. Many leave behind children and families. Some are abandoned by the syndicates immediately after arrest. Others face decades in foreign prisons. Africa is no longer just a transit point. Local drug consumption is rapidly increasing. Cheap cocaine, synthetic drugs, methamphetamine, opioids, and dangerous street mixtures are spreading across urban communities. Criminal groups constantly adapt. When airports become difficult, they switch to maritime shipping. When police target major traffickers, they recruit smaller couriers. And when law enforcement focuses on men, they increasingly use women. The future of Africa's drug trade may become even more dangerous. Methamphetamine production is rising, synthetic opioids are spreading, and criminal networks are becoming more sophisticated. Unfortunately, women are expected to remain central to these networks. African governments are fighting back. Agencies across the continent now work with Interpol, the UNODC, European intelligence agencies, and American narcotics units. Government efforts and law enforcement operations, African agencies have shifted from passive interception to aggressive intelligence gathering. Drug seizures have increased dramatically in several African regions. Enforcement faces enormous obstacles. Even when major traffickers are arrested, new networks quickly emerge, because the global drug trade is driven by enormous demand. As long as billions of dollars continue flowing through narcotics markets, syndicates will continue recruiting, and vulnerable women will remain targets. As of 2026, African female narcos are no longer anomalies. They are operational necessities for cartels. Some women enter the narco world seeking survival. Others pursue power. Some escape poverty. Many never escape at all. And across Africa tonight, new recruits are already being chosen. If this story opened your eyes to the massive involvement of women in narcotics trafficking, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. Because behind every headline, there's always a deeper story waiting to be uncovered. And on this channel, we bring you the untold realities of crime, survival, power, and the dark networks shaping our world today. Leave a comment below. Do you think poverty drives most women into the drug trade, or is it pure greed and power? Stay safe, and we'll see you in the next investigation.